The next step in the build process will be to start our neck. Now what I have here is I have a white limba neck blank that I'm going to be using for my neck, and one thing that I always do is I like to plan out where everything's going to be, and as you can see there's a bunch of marks down this neck blank. That's because out of this 2-inch thick blank I'm actually going to get 2 necks, and what I've done is on each side I've listed where 2 inches is, because I like to have 2 inches of tenon extending at the end of the fretboard that we're going to route our pickup over, so that's fine. 2 inches there. Then that's after this 2-inch mark is where the fretboard starts. I'm measuring 24 frets just to be safe in case that's what I want to use on the build, and I'm measuring where the neck connects to the upper bout of the body, i.e. where the heel is going to have to go to. Then all the way down here, this is where the nut is. That's a full 24 frets at 25 inches. That's what that means. So that's where the nut is. And I measure 7 inches for my headstock. That gives me 1 inch of safety. Now the reason that I'm not measuring for a scarf is because when you cut a scarf out of a 1-inch board, it comes to something like 4.44 inches or something like that, if I remember correctly. And what this does is actually, it comes to 4.44 inches if you do a 13-degree angle, which is going to be over about 4 inches. So you're actually gaining some. So if I measure the full length of the headstock, I don't have to take into account the scarf, because by scarfing I'm actually adding distance. And then I've also done the second side. So we have, once again, 2 inches, 16th fret, the nut, and 7 inches of headstock. I've also got a center line, and that is going to be where I rip the board except for where the heels are. So what I'm going to do is, just because the neck connects at the 16th fret doesn't mean that that's where the heel ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 16th fret mark and the 17th, and the end of the headstock of the neck above it, and I'm going to choose a spot that fits well. So something like that. So that gives me my full length for my headstock with a little extra, and for the neck on the bottom it's giving me my heel with a little extra to play with. And what this is going to do is that I'm going to cut along this line, follow the center line all the way down the neck, and then once again cut on a similar line like that. Before we start cutting this out on the bandsaw, let's go over a couple things. I found that out of all the tools in your arsenal, a bandsaw can be one of the most helpful, but also one of the cruelest mistresses. So spend the money, get decent blades so that they don't wander. The first time that you ruin something like an expensive neck blank, and I speak from experience, you will have paid for a more expensive blade. So it makes no sense to buy cheap blades. Companies like Timberwolf, Woodmaster, they all make great blades. But let's talk about guide bearings. You should have your rear guide bearing. It's hard to see, but it's set so that you can see the light coming through between the bearing and the blade. It's set so that it's almost touching the back of that blade. And these are set right behind the gullets with about a paper's thickness between the blade and the bearings. And then we've done the same thing on the bottom set of guides. It's very important to set these up correctly. I'm stopping at this point for 2 reasons. The first reason is you can't see it, but the neck blank is too long and it's hitting something on the other side of the bandsaw. I don't have a huge shop, so it makes things like this a problem. Also, if I were to have continued and swung this way, eventually that other end of the neck would have hit the stock of the bandsaw, because this is only a 17-inch bandsaw, so that means there's 17-inch clearance between the blade and the stock on the left side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the saw off, back the blade out, and just come at this from the other side. You can now probably visualize a little better what we've done. You can see the cut goes along like so, and we have our two neck blanks. They're going to be scarfed, that's why this is allowed to be that thin, but we have a one-piece heel, which is going to be a nice look. One of my pet peeves is seeing a stacked heel line from where they've laminated an extra piece on to get the thickness. Why not just buy 8/4 and do this? And we'll be hiding the scarf in veneer on the headstock and a backstrapping veneer.